Welcome back. The last two games I talked about had a decent number of similarities. Japanese-produced, turn-based combat RPGs. Well, this one is a little different. A 4X strategy game that is, well, it's turn-based as well, but the turns are dissimilar. With that out of the way, let's see whether you can stand the test of time. I'm Rio, and these are the completely biased reasons why you should play the Civilization games. I'm going to come out and say at the start that I have not really played half of the games in the Civilization series. While I do own Civilization 3, I've only briefly played it ever. My main playtime is with 4 and 5, with a solid number of hours on 6 too. I've never played 1 and 2, so my perspective is more geared to the modern Civilization games. Before getting into those, though, it's necessary to talk about the history of Civilization. The world began... The first Civilization game was made in 1991 by Bruce Shelley and Sid Meier. You may recognize Sid Meier from all the games his name is on, including the Civilization series. The game was a hit to the point that Shelley stated in a 2016 interview that the original Civilization game has sold over 1.5 million copies. The sequel, Civilization 2, was produced in 1996, followed by 3 in 2001, 4 in 2005, 5 in 2010, and most recently, 6 in 2016. There have been numerous side games and spin-offs, but for the purposes of this video, the mainline series will be the focus. The premise of the games is you pick a historical empire with one of their greatest leaders and build your own empire. Civilizations span all time periods and continents. You get the well-known empires such as the Romans or the Chinese, but also lesser-known ones such as the Shoshone and the Khmer, at least not as well known in the West. Most games have you start in the Ancient Era, with just your capital city and one military unit, and from there you build up your civilization to a modern powerhouse. During the game, you build cities, produce units and buildings in those cities, construct historical wonders, cultivate resources, research technology, trade, ally or declare war on other empires, and try to achieve one of the victory conditions before 2050. Basically, the games follow the basic pattern of the 4X system. You control an empire and you explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate in order to gain victory. I'm going to go through each stage of this gameplay with regards to Civilization, quite possibly the most famous game of this genre, and detail what the stage is and why it is fun. We will begin with exploration. As I said before, you start out in the Ancient Era with one settler, a unit that founds cities, and one military unit, usually the basic warrior. You settle your city, and then send the unit out to explore, at least in 5 or 6. In 4, this is a really bad idea, because your city could be taken by any military unit passing by, including the barbarians. As you can see, when you first found a city, you have some vision of the tiles and map around, but that's it. You then have to explore in order to discover resources, future city locations, goody huts or abandoned ruins that can give nice early game bonuses, and other civilizations that you can compete against or cooperate with. You also will most likely find barbarians that you have to defend against. Barbarians are independent, aggressive units that will attack units regardless of nation. In 5 and 6, there are also city-states that you can contact that give special bonuses if you become friends with them, so the earlier you find them, the faster you can get a good relationship. Natural wonders are also scattered around the map in 5 and 6 that can give bonuses just for discovering them, and definitely if you settle next to them. The early exploration phase is one of the stages I like best because of the fact that with each new game of Civilization, I don't know what I'm going to do strategy-wise. Did I happen to settle on a spot with a lot of luxury resources but few strategic ones? That changes up my strategy. Did I manage to get my own continent? Sweet, I can focus on naval defenses at the expense of military. Did I somehow land next to the Aztec, Zulus, and Mongols? Seems like military prowess would be a good thing to go for early on. At this point of the game, the excitement of discovery and early development means that there are many possibilities for how the game plays out. The Civilization games have great early gameplay, and I find it difficult to actually stop once I've started a game. Okay, I'll stop after I finish this wonder. Oh, but there's this really cool tech. It's really close to being done, and my scout is nearing that spot that probably has barbarians, but might have something nice instead. In this part, 1,000 years can go by in the blink of an eye. The next stage is expansion. You have a good general idea of what's around you. You're going to cultivate relations with that empire, stay away from that continent of barbarians over there, and settle your next city near those resources. Now is the time for expansion. That does mean the traditional territorial expansion you usually get, but it also includes expansion in the areas of technology, culture, economics, faith, and military. The focus shifts from discovery to cultivation, and this is the moment you really start seeing your empire making progress. The technology tree continues to have fascinating new options. Your borders are expanding from culture, the coffers of the empire will hopefully be filling up. Religions begin to be founded, and your military is prepared to defend or attack on your order. Your diplomatic options also expand, whether that's exchange in resources, technology, although only in 4, alliances, or gold. This is the time to begin building those relationships, just so they can come crashing down when you do something unforgivable, such as build too many wonders, settle a city too close, or don't build up your navy. The AI leaders can be finicky at times. I like this stage because all the potential that you saw in the exploration phase begins to come to fruition here. You see your cities churning out production, technological discoveries, wonder construction. It's a grand period, let me tell you. This period also starts setting up greater conflicts over the way the game will play out between the empires. Friends and enemies are made, and your conflict shifts from barbarians to other civilizations. Not necessarily violent conflict, although that happens a fair amount, but competition over the rapidly shrinking available space and resources. The shape and direction your empire is headed in starts to really solidify now. With the shape of the world in which you're competing in forming up, Stage 3 takes prominence: exploitation. I'm not sure I like the exact term exploitation for this, but I couldn't think of an alternative with the EX prefix, so I guess we're stuck with it. Now that most of the land and resources have been snapped up, it's time to make effective use of what your nation does have. Get those workers out there building roads, improving resources, and other such worker duties. Take advantage of the city-state relationships you cultivated. Bring your allies closer into the fold, and, if possible, start executing the plan that will lead you to victory. This period will probably spark up those already tense relationships with your primary competitors, but this is also the period when your plans to take them down hopefully take form or action. This is the time the player sees what this empire they've built can really do. It also ramps up the number of things to do. With a large empire competing with other large empires, the game will be going through turns more methodically now. As I said before, this stage shows what your nation can really do, so it is part of the reward from all the work the player put into in the first couple stages of the game. While I know some people find this stage more boring, without the excitement of exploring and claiming new land, I think it's still fun when you're examining your nation to see how to take advantage of the circumstances around you. You survived the early stages of the game, and with the end coming into sight, it's time for that mad dash to the finish line, which leads into the final X of the 4 X's, extermination. Once again, this isn't the term I would use, and for this one, I do have an alternative: execution. Specifically, the execution of the final plan that you've been building up century after century in-game. Your culture is spreading throughout the empires, your proposals in the World Congress are being selected, you've finally found whales to give to your demanding citizens, and that spaceship is starting to actually be built. Also fitting into the extermination part, you can have massive wars that swing the game, especially with the advent of nukes, and especially if Gandhi is involved. We know you're peaceful now, Gandhi, but when you get hold of those nukes, oh boy. For people without context, a bug in the first Civ game meant at one point, instead of Gandhi being the least aggressive leader, he became the most aggressive leader. And thus, the legend of Gandhi and his nukes was born. This is the time in game when it's win or bust, and you want to win because you put in all this work. These later stages have the biggest strategies because of the need to keep track of everything that's going on, which is a fair amount. But if it works out, you'll have achieved victory. This final stage is the culmination of all that's been done in the game. And the thing is, it doesn't have to end there, not if you want just one more turn, which turns into more and more turns until you're dragged away from your computer. You have managed to take an empire from the dawn of civilization to the future, albeit not too far into the future, at least if you choose not to go past the 2050 cutoff point. It feels really good in my experience, and there are a lot of Civilization fans out there who I know would wholeheartedly agree with me. The breakdown I laid out also isn't as rigid as it may have seemed from my description. The 4 X's all appear at every stage of the game, with the possible exception of exploration after you've discovered satellites, since they show the entire map. What the division above is supposed to illustrate is the great aspects of each and how they work together to make Civilization a fun game. If you want to give these games a chance, all Civilization games are available on PC, and probably other devices too. I just never think to check. How did I get into Civ? Well, I'm going to tell you my experience as always, and it starts with a Scholastic Book Club paper. Leaflet? Magazine? Whatever you call it. Oh man though, that's nostalgic. Civilization 4 was featured on one of the pages, and I thought it looked cool, and with my parents' permission, ordered it. I remember I was very excited to play it the first day it came, but it came on a school day, so my mom told me I couldn't play it just yet. I remember I played as Genghis Khan in my first game, and finished 3rd in score on the easiest difficulty, because I was terrible. But a passion had begun. I played a lot of Civilization 4, and then after that Civilization 5, and some Civilization 6, although less so than the 2 before it. I loved the graphics, the strategy, the history. I probably owe Civilization some credit for developing my interest in history. Hey, they were advertised as educational games. The technological quotes, and many more aspects. Civilization remains one of the most formative gaming series in my life. And the fact that I will still go back and play Civilization games, and not just the newest one, is a testament to how amazing these games can truly be. Given the variable maps, civilizations, leaders, difficulties, scenarios, and mods in these games, there is something for everyone, so long as you're fine with the basic premise of the games. That is why I think that you, yes you, should play Sid Meier's Civilization. Either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, any is fine with me, and see if your empire can stand the test of time. I'm Ria. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give a like and subscribe if you want to hear more from me, and have fun playing.